So thinking ahead, this is all about planning as you are starting to structure a new program. So let's see. We'll do something with averages. We'll do student averages. How about averages of a bunch of students, and maybe we can get the max and min, things like that. So identify the inputs and outputs required for a solution. Well, okay, inputs and outputs. Let's go and PSVM. And we're probably going to need a buffered reader, so let's just do that right off the bat. And in fact, we're probably going to want to use that in several sub-procedures, as we called it earlier, or functions or methods as they're normally referred to. So let's do our B-reader up here, because we know we're going to need it. We know we will need input. So what are we going to need if we're doing grades? Well, we're going to need to have as input student grades of several students, subjects. Okay, outputs as well, and the outputs, sure. So the outputs in this case are going to be, well, averages per student, maybe overall average, and let's just stick with something simple like highest grade of all, and maybe, I don't know how complicated it's going to get, highest grade per subject. So you get the idea. We're not going to make this too complicated, too complex, but inputs and outputs. And really, that's all that this one's about. So let's implement it and put a B there. So let's say there are, how about 3 subjects and 4 students. So we're going to go. First grade, and the grades will probably be floats. Okay, this is the first time you've seen this in this series, but making a long story short, if you're using something outside of a method, and that method is static, something that you're using declared outside must also have been declared as static. So now we're going to have our first grade for our first subject. And we said 3 subjects. And okay, how about just to keep it simple? We'll get into loops and so on later on. So to keep it simple, let's just have 2 students. And as mentioned before, you cannot have a declaration of 2 variables with the same name. We can't say there is a variable, which is a float, called student1 grade 2, and then do that all again. Then there would be 2, and there just can't be 2 variables of exactly the same name. And it makes sense that we have 2 students, so the variable names down here will be as they now are. So that will be the way of getting in all of our inputs. Now, to actually implement the outputs would be implementing the whole program. So right now, let's just run this to make sure there are no errors. And it's fine, but we'll leave it there and continue on with the next couple of assessment statements.